August 15th, 1534, city of Tunis. One of the flowers of the Islamic world, Tunis is a city of 100,000 people that's a crossroads of trade and prosperity in the Mediterranean, an independent powerhouse outside Ottoman control. But now, people race through the streets, hiding their wealth or trying to find relatives, preparing to evacuate to Tangier or Fez. For a fleet of 70 ships pull into the harbor. Their oars, pulled by thousands of galley slaves, speed their iron-reinforced rams toward the city. And flying from their masts are the green banners of Redbeard Barbarossa, the most feared corsair of the Mediterranean. And at his side is his trusted lieutenant, a man so well known that when Italian painters create portraits of Barbarossa, they picture him with this accomplice standing close behind, Sinan Reis, or as the Europeans call him, Sinan the Jew. Thanks so much to Skillshare for helping us keep this history afloat. When Spain and Portugal expelled their Jews, they kick-started a new era of the Jewish Diaspora. And these Sephardic Jews, called so because of the old Hebrew name for Spain, immediately encountered a rather large problem. Where could they go? For most European nations refused them entry, with England having expelled its own Jewish population in 1290, and France having done so permanently in 1394. So really, there was only one option: the Islamic kingdoms of North Africa and the Ottoman Empire. Many Sephardi had worked in the sea trade, so those merchant families already had links there. And while the city-states were Islamic, their relative religious tolerance meant that there were already communities of North African Jews living in their ports. So the Sephardi made for cities like Tangier, Tunis, Fez, and Algiers. Some even to Anatolia, setting up whole districts of Jewish immigrants. And they didn't come alone. The Sephardic diaspora coincided with a wave of Muslim refugees from the fall of Granada, a number that would only grow in the next decade as Spain expelled its Muslims and many Moriscos converts in 1503. Plus, given that piracy was already a cottage industry in North Africa, it wasn't long before those Sephardi merchant families and their Spanish Muslim neighbors found a new way to serve the place that had given them refuge, by turning their sailing and navigation skills against their hated enemy Spain. After all, they knew the territory, the ports, and the waters. They had contacts for intelligence gathering, spoke the language, and some could even land and pass themselves off as new Christians if needed. Even those who didn't engage in piracy directly still fenced or bought goods from those that did. And then in 1503, two brothers arrived who would become the most famous corsairs of the Barbary coast. The pair had battled their way through the Mediterranean for years, gaining fame by helping ferry Muslim refugees from Spain. But their star truly rose when they captured the city of Algiers and made it a pirate port. Then, hoping to gain Ottoman protection, they turned the city over to the Sultan in exchange for patronage and titles, becoming privateers. And when the elder brother was killed fighting the Spanish, the younger brother dyed his own beard red with henna and took on the fearsome nickname his brother's Italian enemies had given him, Redbeard, or in Italian, Barbarossa. And the Ottoman Empire was in need of captains, because by 1521, a new sultan, Suliman the Magnificent, had come to power, and the Spanish and Austrian thrones united in the Habsburg monarch, Charles V. These two were about to enter a multi-decade brawl, stretching from Vienna to North Africa, which you can hear more about in our Suliman the Magnificent series. But what's important here is that central to that struggle was dominance of the Mediterranean. And in the infamously effective, fearsome, and merciless Barbarossa, Suliman saw a chance to bring his forces to Spain's very doorstep. For the Ottoman navy barely existed, and by leveraging Barbary pirates, he could quickly raise a fleet to battle Andrea Doria, the Genoese admiral the Spanish had hired. And here enters Sinan Reis. Now, details on Sinan are a bit sketchy. Apparently born to an expelled Jewish family in Anatolia, Sinan was likely an Islamic name taken when he joined Barbarossa, and Reis is simply a rank, equivalent to captain or chief. A situation that's confused by the fact that there were also other Ottoman naval officers with the same name. In fact, Rob had to chase a lot of footnotes down on this one, and there'll be plenty more on that when it comes around to our Lies episode after this series. But it seems the first whispers of Sinan appear in the 1520s. With references to a pirate named Sinan the Jew, or the Great Jew, cropping up in Spanish and Venetian correspondence. But the first real concrete mention of him comes in 1533, from an English diplomatic letter sent to the court of Henry VIII. "It was reported at Rome a few days ago," it says, that Andrea Doria was informed that the famous Jewish pirate had prepared a strong fleet to meet the Spanish galleys, which are to join Doria's 19 ships. Then the letter goes on to say that the Pope, fearing this Ottoman pirate fleet, had decided to travel by land rather than risk running into them. Good looking out, Your Holiness. But little did the English know that these movements were actually in preparation for a massive operation. Suliman had called Barbarossa to Constantinople and named him Grand Admiral, ordering him to outfit 70 galleys for a major campaign. Part of that outfit consisted of loading thousands of galley slaves aboard, including 2,000 of whom that were Jewish. Which should remind us that while pirates like Sinan Reis provide a unique window into diaspora and an opportunity to think about the historical overlap between religion and politics, this is most certainly not a heroic story. In fact, it's very messy. Barbarossa himself was known for extreme terror tactics and violence. For instance, one of his captains liked to beat his own men with a severed arm. The style of combat itself was fierce as well, mostly fought by ships ramming into each other with reinforced prows and initiating boarding actions. And let's not forget that both sides of this war utilized vessels driven by oar slaves, meaning this conflict was literally propelled by slavery. Just something to keep in mind. But Barbarossa's fleet did mark a major turning point in Mediterranean power. When he and Sinan struck out in 1534, they raided the coast of Greece and Italy before hitting their big target, a city long coveted by the Ottomans, Tunis. The idea was to build a base, a jumping-off point to hit the fortress island of Malta and thereby dominate the western Mediterranean. But while Barbarossa and Sinan raised a massive chain across the harbor and stocked its fortress with arms secretly bought from the French, the ejected Sultan of Tunis fled to Spain and then promised Charles V to be his ally if the king won his city back. Charles raised a massive fleet, 30,000 soldiers and 375 ships. It cost as much as his land war against Suliman. Then, the fleet battered its way into Tunis, smashing the Corsair fleet and ramming its largest galley into the harbor chain, snapping it. For over 3 weeks, Sinan held the fort. But in the end, there was no choice but to run. By one account, he counseled Barbarossa against massacring Christian slaves before they escaped. But sadly, the city would not be so lucky when Charles took it, the Spanish army sacking Tunis and ravaging its Jewish quarter with particular ferocity. The incident, along with other raids, convinced the Pope to found the Holy League of Catholic States in Iberia and Italy. They rehired Andrea Doria and launched a new combined fleet, this time propelled by Protestant galley slaves, to destroy Barbarossa once and for all. The forces met on the Ionian Sea, off Preveza. 300 Holy League ships against 122 Corsair galleys, 60,000 troops to Barbarossa's 20,000. But Barbarossa and Sinan were ready. The Ottoman fleet sheltered in an inlet, the approach guarded by Sinan's shore batteries. Doria, who owned many of his own vessels personally, withdrew to seek a better strategic solution. Then the Ottomans hit Doria during the morning calm, when his ships did not have enough wind power to maneuver. Vessels crunched and locked as armored prows rammed into them, Corsairs tying the vessels together and leaping aboard. Barbarossa's force captured or sunk 128 ships that day, without the loss of a single vessel. Granted, many Ottoman ships were mauled by the superior European cannon, particularly from the Venetian flagship, but that didn't really matter, because by the next morning, the Holy League was rowing back for Spain. And there was Sinan Reis, a man whose family was expelled by Spanish kings who had just helped defeat the Spanish Empire at sea. But he wasn't the only Jewish corsair to work with Muslim rulers. So batten down the hatches with us next time when we take a look at Samuel Palachi, a Sephardic rabbi who served as an envoy for the Moroccan Sultan, a privateer for the Dutch, and may have even sold the secrets of both. Speaking of secrets, want to know the best place to go online to learn more about the things you're passionate about, be they plunder related or otherwise? Then look no further than today's sponsor, Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community featuring thousands of super helpful courses for anyone looking to scratch a creative itch, enhance an existing skill, or even level up some new abilities. Seriously, they have classes on almost everything. For instance, we've been really enjoying Marquez Brownlee's newest YouTube creation class, Shoot Script Edit, where he breaks down his techniques on turning complex tech topics into short short, hyper-engaging videos. Also, to help me along on my forever quest to manage my time more effectively, I've been taking fellow Nebula creator Thomas Frank's class, Productivity for Creators, where he shares some really great workspace tips that have really helped me a ton. Then with all the time I've saved, I move on to what really brings in the dough. Cookies! Didn't see that one coming, did ya? Specifically, how to make edible art with Lori Shannon's class, Cookie Decorating for Beginners. And the info in there is, dare I say, frosty! Excuse me. Plus, Skillshare is continually launching new premium classes ad-free, so you'll always find something new you're excited to learn about, all for under $10 a month. And speaking of exciting, the first 1,000 of you fine folks that click on the link in the description below will get a free trial of a premium membership. So you can not only help out our channel by exploring your own creativity, but also, and I cannot stress this enough,
You can also bake more awesome cookies, so come on.
A huge thanks to Ahmed Ziad Turk, Alicia Bramble, Casey Muscha, Dominic Valenciana, Joseph Blame, Kyle Murgatroyd, and O'Reels1 for being our legendary patrons.